All right, welcome back to part 3 of the Unit 4 test review. Number 11 says, which equation represents the graph? Right away, I notice that the graph crosses the y-axis at 0, 0. So this is a proportional graph. The equation for this graph is going to look like y equals mx, or m times x. And that letter m is actually going to be the number that represents our slope. So looking at our answer choices, because this goes through 0, 0, the answers have to either be C or D. It's not going to look like A or B because A has a y-intercept of positive 2. That would cross up here at 2. B has a y-intercept of negative 2. That would cross down here at negative 2. So that just leaves C or D because they are written in the form of y equals mx. So remember that this letter m represents your slope. So in choice C, we have a slope of 1/2, and in choice D, we have a slope of 2. So we need to figure out, and actually let's talk about that. That slope of 2 can also be written as a fraction of 2 over 1 because 2 divided by 1 equals 2. So now we need to figure out what is the slope of this blue line. Is it 1/2 or is it 2? So I need to find another point besides 0, 0 so that I can count my rise over run from point to point. So I see a point here and I see a point here. I also see some points down here that I could use if I need them. So starting from my origin, I'm going to count my slope, which is the same thing as rise over run. So just remember, slope on your graph is the rise over run from point to point. Rise, think of the sun rising, that's how far up we go. And then for us, running is always going to be to the right because we're always looking at positive graphs. So from my origin, I see that I need to rise 1, 2 units to get to the next point. So I rise 2. Now I want to see how far do I run or go to the right to get to this point. I see that I run 1. So my slope or rise over run is going to be 2 over 1. 2 over 1, 2 divided by 1 equals 2. So I'm going to go with choice D because my slope here should be 2. So that would be the equation of y equals 2x. Number 12 says, which graph is represented by the equation y equals 2x? So this equation is written in the form of y equals mx, which means we are looking for a proportional graph, which means this graph should go through the origin. It should cross at 0, 0. Looking at my 4 graphs, I see that choice A, the line does not cross at 0, 0. In choice B, the line does cross at 0, 0. In choice C, the line does not cross at 0, 0. And in choice D, the line does cross at 0, 0. Because our equation is written in this form, y equals 2x, that means it is proportional, so it should go through the origin. So we're going to eliminate choices A and C right away. The choice we are going to pick is either B or D because they both go through the origin. To figure out which is the better choice, B or D, we need to figure out which graph has a slope of 2. The equation y equals 2x is telling us that our slope, it's telling us that our slope is 2. And I ran out of room there, so I'm going to write it underneath. The whole number 2 can always be written as 2 over 1 because 2 divided by 1 equals 2. So now on the graph, I'm going to start at the origin and count my distance to the other point. I'm going to count my rise and my run to see which graph has a slope of 2 over 1. So I just want to write this out as a reminder. Slope is our rise over run. Rise is how far up you go. Run is how far to the right you go. So now we can get started. So we're looking at choices B or D. From the origin, I need another point to count to. So there's a point on the line there and a point on the line there. I'll go ahead and do those in choice D now. So from the origin, I'm going to count how far I rise and how far I run. I see I need to go up 1, 2, which means I have a rise of 2. Now I need to see how far I need to run or go to the right. I see I need to run 1, so I have a run of 1. So this graph has a slope of 2 over 1, and I know that 2 divided by 1 equals 2. So B is the best choice because it goes through the origin and it has the slope of 2 over 1. Looking at choice D, if I count my rise and run from point to point, I rise 1 and I run 2. So for choice D, when I write rise over run, I'm actually going to write 1 over 2. And that is backwards, flip-flopped of 2 over 1. So choice D is not a good choice. Question 13. The directions say type your answer in the box. A line contains points represented by the table of values. And we have the table here, x, y, x, y, x, y. And all we have to do is tell it what the y-intercept is. So looking at this table of values, I'm looking for the connection between x and y. What is my rule here? What is the pattern? Well, I noticed that 2 plus 4 would equal 6. Now I'm going to check to see if that rule plus 4 works every time, because I also know that 2 times 3 could equal 6. So it could be plus 4, but it could also be times 3. So let's check the next row. 4 plus 4 does equal 8. So plus 4 works. Now let's check if times 3 works. 4 times 3 would be 12. So times 3 isn't working every time. We're going to go ahead and get rid of it. Let's keep going with plus 4. 6 plus 4 equals 10, and 8 plus 4 equals 12. So the rule here every time is plus 4. So in your equation, that would look like x plus 4 equals y, or y equals x plus 4. So this is the equation represented by the table, but the question is asking us for the y-intercept. So remember, your y-intercept is that point on the graph where your line and the y-axis cross. So the y-intercept is this point where those two meet. The y-intercept always has an x value of 0. And that y value is what represents your y-intercept. So we need to figure out if x were 0, what would y be? Well, if the rule every time is plus 4, all you have to do is say what's 0 plus 4? Well, that would be 4. So because the rule is plus 4, and we know 0 plus 4 is 4, our y-intercept here is just positive 4. Number 14, which graph has a y-intercept of 4 and passes through the point -5, -1? So let's check for the y-intercept first and see what choices we can eliminate, and then we'll go back and look for this ordered pair. So remember, the y-intercept is the point, where the y-axis and your line meet. So where the y-axis and the blue line cross, where they intercept. There we go, that's a little nicer. We are looking for a y-intercept of 4. Remember that that's going to be a positive 4. So which graph shows the y-axis and the blue line crossing at 4? Well, the blue line and the y-axis cross at 0 here. So this has a y-intercept of 0. So A is not a good choice. B shows the y-axis and the blue line meeting at -4. So this has a y-intercept of -4, and we're looking for +4. So B is not our best choice. C shows the y-axis and the blue line meeting again at 0. So this has a y-intercept of 0. C is not a good choice. D shows the blue line and the y-axis crossing at 4. So D has a y-intercept of 4. D has to be the correct answer since it's the only one with the correct y-intercept. So now we just want to make sure it has the ordered pair -5, -1. So remember when you're plotting ordered pairs, you always start at your origin. This is your x value, -5, and your y value, -1. When the x value is negative, you will go left. So we will go left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When the y value is negative, you will go down. So we will go down 1. So this point that I'm drawing right now represents the ordered pair -5, -1. And the point is on the blue line. So again, that reinforces that choice D is the best choice here. Number 15 says, which statement identifies the y-intercept of the line and the ordered pair graph? Remember, the y-intercept is the point where the y-axis and the blue line cross. So I'm going to highlight the y-axis in the picture because it helps me see where the blue line and the y-axis meet. I see that they cross right here at +1. So my y-intercept is going to be +1. Let's look at the choices and see which we can eliminate. A has the correct y-intercept. B has the correct y-intercept. C says -1, and we got an answer of +1, so I can eliminate C. D also says the y-intercept should be -1, but our answer was +1. So right away, just by finding the y-intercept, I narrowed it down to a 50-50 chance. It's either A or B. Now I need to figure out if the ordered pair, this point on the graph, is -3, -2, or if it's located at -2, -3. So I need to be really careful here because they gave me the same two numbers and just flip-flopped the order. In B, the x value is -2 and the y value is -3. But in A, the x value is -3 and the y value is -2. They flipped them around. So I need to be really careful when I figure out what is the ordered pair of this point. Remember, when you want to find an ordered pair, you always start at your origin. To find your x value, you either go left or right. Well, to get to this point, I'm going to go left, which means my x value is going to be negative. So let's count how far left we need to go. 1, 2, 3. I went left 3, so right away I know my x value is going to be a -3. And now from here I need to count how far down to get to the point. I go down 1, 2 units, so my y value is a -2. Now that I know my ordered pair is -3, -2, it's just my x coordinate and then my y coordinate, the best answer choice here is choice A. B was close, it had the correct y-intercept, but they wrote the ordered pair backwards. We're going to stop here for part 3. Tune in for part 4, which is your last video.